静かで凛として黒い影
Hello everyone, this is Leon. Thank you for tuning in. In this video, I will be showing you how to make this Ubel spear. As usual, I have left the template link down in the description below, so feel free to check it out. First thing to do is to print out the template. After that, cut along the dash line and then connect them with tape. This time the template will be used as general guide, as most of the template will be from Pepakura. Pepakura is a powerful software, especially when it comes to making EVA foam prop. After printing the template, I will usually stick them onto harder cardstock because I often keep them for future. So doing this can make the template more durable than my dreams. First, I start with this easiest part and split out this part because I figured it might be easier. Then I trace them onto 5mm EVA foam and trace a few copies of them. I also did some marking to indicate the sides, so I will not get confused. Next, this is important. To get a very clean finishing, I did angle slanted cut on all the edges. The tips is to maintain your hand gesture and cut slowly. After that, using super glue and apply it really close to the edge and stick the pieces together. This will make the surface angle much cleaner, in case the slanted cut angle is too low. Lastly, we will be attaching all 4 pieces. Next, using the same method to make the top tip and glue it with super glue. Up to this point, stick only these parts and do not completely seal it yet. After that, because of some imperfections on the template, so I redesigned it and scrapped these pieces. The method to make it still completely the same. As you can see, I also make mistakes during my build, so it is okay if you make mistake. Most important thing is what you can learn from the mistake. Did I make it sound cool? After cutting the new set, I first attached 2 sides to each other, then I cut this on 5mm EVA foam as well. For this piece, have to do slanted cut at all the edges and 90° at the circle. After that, attach it onto this part and finish the rest afterwards. Next, proceed to the smaller one. It is basically the same method. Slanted cut at all the edges and then attach 2 sides first. After getting this, it is time to enhance the tip. Inserting a wooden skewer at the middle would make it much tougher and more durable than my will to live. So I cut some V-groove at the tip. Then attach the pointy part of the skewer onto the foam with super glue. After that, attach the other side on. And then this part is done. While I was having my morning coffee, the self-paid non-sponsored canned coffee from Nescafe, I look at my metal straw and then a bulb has lighted up in my brain, so I decided to use it as another additional support because this is strong and lightweight, perfect for cosplay. After that, I cut some small straps on 2mm foam and glue it onto the skewer, and this will be cushion for inserting the metal straw. Next, let's move on to this middle square piece. After a few considerations, I've decided to change the thickness and I've updated in the final template. That's because the metal straw I got had 60mm diameter, so I'm stacking 3 plus 3mm because I don't have 6mm with me. I first packed 2 copies on 3mm foam and then stacked the 2 pieces with contact adhesive. After that, I marked the center line and it is for slotting the metal straw. In the meantime, also make 4 copies on 5mm foam. Now using contact adhesive to sandwich according to the indicated thickness. But first, stick the stacked 3mm foam to 1 5mm first, and then I measure a 6mm gap at the middle. And remove the 6mm gap on the stacked 3mm foam. Beware when cutting this part and make sure do not overcut the foam. All you need to do is gently cut through the stacked 3mm foam and remove the middle piece. And now it will have a gap that fits the metal straw perfectly. Now stack the other 2 pieces of 5mm foam and then it should look like this. I also trimmed some of the inner foam here so the square piece can fit better. Next, proceed to the green jewel part. Using the template and mark the attachment guide onto the foam. And I use 5mm foam for the jewel itself. After making 2 copies, I made a new template to mark the sanding guide. This will help with sanding down the edges and give it more dimension. After sanding is done, use contact adhesive to attach the jewel onto the square piece. Additionally, I also use rotary tool to refine the angle until I am satisfied. Next, let's proceed to the two horns at the side. Just follow the template and make copies on 3mm foam. While cutting this side here, remember have to do slanted cut, because this part will be attaching to the spear. I recommend doing this part piece by piece, so it is less confusing this way. First is to connect all the pieces, and also make all the other copies. Remember to flip the template when walking on the other side. Do some low angle slanted cut at the tip. This will help with attaching the tip and make it more pointy. Now slowly connect to both sides. To get a nice result, all you have to do is to glue it slowly and don't rush it. So it is very important to be patient, but don't become a patient. Additionally, if for some reason the glue doesn't stick well, try sanding the foam with rougher sandpaper because it works for me. After the horns are done, it shall look like this. Now leave it aside and let's proceed with this. Both of these will be made with 3mm foam. As for the top part, we'll need to do slanted cut on both the curved side. After cutting them, I use sandpaper to roughen it. Then after attaching it, it will look like this. To make it fit on much better, I also trim a little more at the edge, using basically the same method and repeat on the bottom parts. Now move on to the handle. I use 1-inch aluminum tube and measured it at around 61cm and cut it with a pipe cutter. And another one at 48.4cm. Slot into the foam part and it shall look like this. Moving on, let's do the bottom part. This part will be using hard 4mm foam. The template given is only one side, so we have to flip the other side and trace them on. After that, all the edges has to be slanted cut as well. But for this part, first make a shallow cut at the back so it can be folded in half like this. Then make a slanted cut one side so you will get a seamless surface. After attaching the sides to one side, I trim the pointy tip carefully and try to make it flat. Then I use a wooden skewer again, cut a groove on both sides so the skewer can fit in. Glue the skewer in, then stick the both pieces together. After that, cut this on 5mm foam and slanted cut on all the edges, and then refer to the template. Make sure you are sticking it onto the same number. Now that this is done, and the tip will be stronger than my financial status. Next, come to this part. I manually extended this a little bit because it has to do some angle slanted cut to attach on. And then make 2 front copies and 2 back copies on 5mm foam. Then make slanted cut at both ends. Cut them out as straight as possible. And use contact adhesive to stick both together. Now back to the horn. Before attaching everything, I clean up the seams. The super glue has crystallized, so a little bit of sanding will make the seams a lot smoother. After that, attach this on with super glue. I first glue one end, push it gently so it can lie flat, then glue the other end. Lastly, just seal the seam. Next, mix some steel epoxy evenly. This will be used for attaching the metal straw because it gives more time to work with. I use wooden skewer to put some epoxy into the metal straw, then slot the metal straw in. After that, also use epoxy to attach the rest of the parts. Next, use super glue to seal the foam-to-foam edges. Then attach the 2 straps at the side. Now use an 1cm aluminum tube and cut to size. Using epoxy again to attach it into the spearhead. One thing to be aware of is to find a metal straw and slot it into the aluminum tube, so the spearhead can be straight. After that, I use diamond file to clean up the aluminum tube edges, so it doesn't scratch the foam on my finger. Next, I cut a few 1cm straps on 5mm strap foam, trim the both ends, and stick it onto the aluminum tube with epoxy glue. I also cut the same straps on 2mm foam, and stick onto the 5mm foam and give it more thickness. After that, just use epoxy and attach the spear to the aluminum tube. Now let's move on to the bottom part. I used 2 1cm aluminum tube cut to about 20cm and attach longer 5+2mm foam straps on one of the aluminum tube. And this will be used as the middle attachment. As for the other one, just simply put a little bit at the tip and slot into the bottom tip until it touches the foam, and let it cure. Then add the straps at the other end and attach this to the aluminum tube. And just like before, I also add another 2mm strap so it is thick enough to hold the other aluminum tube in place. Lastly, just use epoxy glue, attach both of these to the bottom aluminum tube. finally to this final piece, I use oil-based super glue to attach it because legend said it works on sticking metal parts. Now we are finally at a heat sealing step. Heat sealing is an important step before painting any EVA foam. It is because the EVA foam has tiny pores, heating it will be able to seal it and make the surface much smoother. Next, I cover the metal parts because I'm using a spray gun to prime the foam. I'm using water-based paint to prime it so it will form a thick layer for the actual paint to sit on. If you don't have access to spray gun, you can just prime it with PVA glue or white glue. After that, for more additional detailing, I also sand down the seams to make it even smoother. The process can be long and boring because it will involve in repeating sanding and filling. So the result will be varied, but for me, I'm not a doctor so I don't have a lot of patience to repeat the process. As for filling holes and gaps, I'd recommend using wood filler. It dries fast and can be sanded off easily. And it is water-based and non-toxic. All you have to do is to use a scraper and fill it evenly. Leave it for a few minutes to dry and then sand it again. Once I'm happy with everything, I first paint the silver base layer, and once it's fully dried out, remove the masking on the metal parts and cover the silver parts. Then I use this candy green spray paint to paint over the green jewel. This paint will need a silver as base layer, so it will give a really nice shine surface. Next, I cover it up and use flat black spray can to paint the black color part. After all the painting are done, it is time to remove the mask and hope everything is fine. Because this process can be easily fucked up and might require to repaint again. After making sure everything is good, let's not to forget about this final detail. I bought this string from the store and then used double-sided tape to attach it on. I trimmed the tab smaller and then tap onto the prop. As you can see here, I'm basically eyeball the position, and the good thing about double-sided tape is if you remove it carefully, you can still change the position of the tape. I wrap the string around until the length that I wanted and then trim it off. And to secure it more, I also put some super glue on the string to fix it in place. After that, I used this keychain ring to attach the jewel onto the string. As for the jewel, I couldn't find a green one, so I end up painting candy green on the transparent jewel. Simply attach the string onto the ring and lastly seal it with super glue. For the final touch, I'm using Liquitex Heavy Body Mask Black and a small flat brush. Dry brushing the shades onto the corner, this will make the whole thing pops a little more. Once you are done with it, then it is done.